With Nashville in the books, time to turn our attention to Chicago Street. Before we do that, Brian and I will recap all that was Nashville, what went right, what went wrong, how the DraftKings picks went, how the bets went, and then look at the Chicago Street odds, figure out where there's potential value, what we may be doing this week, and so much more on today's Angle Up Pursuit podcast.
Ross Chastain used the wall all the way around this racetrack.
Logano has been the class of the field.
Check out the big brain on Brad.
Yeah, I need to change my underwear.
Brian Twining. We're obviously going to dive into all that is Chicago Street, look at the new odds, figure all that stuff out. But first, we got to talk Nashville because it's second week in a row we had wild finishes, carnage, people feeling great about their bets and then awful about their bets and then great about their bets again. Up was down, down was up. People were risking staying out, and all of a sudden they're getting rewarded because people are spinning at the back. Thanks, Austin Cindric. We were excited because a few of our matchups ended up working out towards the end, even though maybe they should, maybe they shouldn't. Who knows? But I guess. Yep. What was your takeaway from Nashville? Because, it could be Logano punching his ticket. It could be Tyler Reddick, once again, bridesmaiding, not briding. It could have been, 3 or 4 or 5 of the best cars all either not finishing the race or not finishing anywhere near the front. Cars running out of gas, cars braking. There's so much to take away.
Yeah, obviously before we even get into our bets or, the result of the race and the craziness, I think the most important takeaway for me was the fact that it was yet another example of how tires mean absolutely jack shit in the sport right now. Because when you look at the beginning and pretty much about 2/3 of the race, 3/4 of the race, all of the guys that were running up front, they were just maintaining and running up front. Their passing was almost impossible. I mean, it took friggin' Denny Hamlin, who had much fresher tires than Ross Chastain. It took him like 4 to 6 laps to finally get past Ross. And, if tires actually meant something and it wasn't just about aero blocking, that would have been an easy pass for Denny on Chastain there. And that's what it should have been. And you look at a guy like Brad Keselowski, there was a lot of rumblings on Sunday morning watching Chris Wormey's pre-race poll and looking at all the metrics and stuff, like he was going to be strong, and he was. But, when you really watch the race, like he couldn't make any moves towards the front. And I think a lot of that had to do with just the dirty air and stuff like that. Yeah. When, you did see some cars able to pass. I mean, I think the Toyotas, which kind of getting back to the 1.5 high-speed intermediates like we saw the beginning of last year, that the Toyotas, I think, were the strongest manufacturer in this package. Just you saw Ty Gibbs, Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, Martin Truex Jr., Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin. I mean, pretty much the entire stable outside of the legacy cars.
Yeah, shouts to Eric Jones. The whole all Toyota's running in the front row, and like Eric Jones is like, "Yeah, I'm good back here."
And then even Corey Heim, like the third addition to the 2311, was better than both of the legacy cars. But I think it just showed Toyota's prowess on this track type and in this package. But yeah, I was disappointed in the inability for people to pass. And then, of course, I was in Vegas and I had a shit ton of money on Joey Logano over Brad Keselowski. So there was nobody as happy as me when Brad Keselowski got spun and rear-ended
and
the
then
wall there.
Being able to cash the outrights on Logano, which props to you for taking advantage of that. And, oftentimes we are sitting in the catbird seat and stuff breaks, stuff goes wrong. Cars run out of gas. We end up ripping up our tickets with 5 to go because we're feeling great. Like Wormy did like a little pre-race or like a mid-race poll during the red flag. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I'm so happy I have Christopher Bell over Ross Chastain. I wish I'd bet more. And Chris is like, well, just, if we cashed all of the tickets we had mid-race, our bank accounts would look very different, but you have to let the whole race play out. And of course, Bell has issues, ends up not beating Ross Chastain, which he should have done. It was also interesting that, when you mentioned tires, there was some expectations or some potential expectations that with the rain kind of washing the track and then it getting hot and slick again, maybe they would rip the tires up. But no, you're to your point, like tires really aren't a factor. Which honestly, I'd rather have them not be a factor and plan it accordingly than like have them be an issue and have the best cars go out because tires are getting shredded.
But that's the issue, is that they need to find the middle ground there, because tires need to matter somewhat in the sport. Like, you can't have a guy like Joey Logano running over half the race on the same freaking left side tires.
Yeah,
I mean,
or supposedly running out of gas. Like all the other cars that had less mileage in their or less laps on their fuel window were all running out of gas, and somehow Logano's just firing around the track. I don't understand how that works.
I found it incredible that he didn't back up the field on those last two restarts. I thought for sure he was just gonna stall out. However,
when him and Briscoe were on the front row restart, I thought they were both gonna stall out.
I thought the field was gonna get wrecked.
Yeah.
But if you did watch Actions Detrimental with Denny Hamlin, he had Tyler Reddick on, and they talked about this issue, and Hamlin made a really good point about Joey Logano, who was running, mid to back of the pack pretty much the entire day.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how that helped him save fuel, because when you were running in traffic, you couldn't go full bore into the corners. You had to lift a little bit sooner, and you couldn't get back to the gas.
And you're trying to crash into people for no reason and ruin your day. And I added Tyler Reddick live, and I thought for sure he's going to pass Logano and get around him and cash that ticket.
I went through the full range of emotions with like 5 laps to go. So I was sitting on a Denny Hamlin 4-1 ticket that I bet Sunday morning at Circa. So when he took the lead over Ross, I was like, oh, this is great. Just stay green. I'll be happy here. Like, I was going to lose my Chastain matchups, but Keselowski had already wrecked out. So I was fine there, or wrecked to be multiple laps down. And then when we got the Cindric spin, I was like, oh, great, here we go. And then the restart, and then Chastain spins, and then Denny has to pit. And I'm going like, we're going to get Chase Briscoe or some funky ass driver to win a race here. Like, what the F is going on? And then Logano takes the lead. Reddick comes from like 8th on the final restart to get to 3rd. Like, what in the world was happening? I didn't know whether to cry or to laugh or to just yell and scream in enjoyment, because it was a wild and crazy finish. And, for us that enjoy the sport, I don't ever want to see that again, because I don't think that's true to the racing that we should be getting. But from an entertainment standpoint, I don't think you could get much better than what that presented.
Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna pull it up really quick. So I'm gonna pull up our DraftKings lineup so we can talk about it. And I have the optimal lineup saved on my phone, so I'm gonna pull that up because it was.
Oh, nice.
Speaking
of that too, there was a time when the finish of the race was like Denny, Logano, and Truex. They finished. It was 1, 2, 3 after, I believe, the 3rd overtime.
Yeah.
And I'm going, this is great. These were my top 3 DFS plays. And then, nope, got to do it again. And then Denny Hamlin's got a pit. And then, is wild.
All right, so I'll throw this up. So the optimal lineup. You want to take a guess at who made the optimal lineup? It's pretty hilarious. Like, some of the names obviously make a ton of sense.
Well, it's definitely Zane Smith.
Yeah, it's Zane Smith.
Yeah, Zane Smith. I would guess Tyler Reddick. Yeah, Tyler Reddick, because he had a bunch of fast laps. Is it Logano?
It's Logano and Blaney, both these guys.
Okay, yeah.
So you have Reddick, you have Logano, Blaney, you have Zane Smith. Now the last two, this is where it gets hilarious.
Corey LaJoy. I don't remember who the funky like top 10 guys.
You're in the right. Yeah, it's definitely two squirrels. It's Daniel Hemrick and Ryan Preece.
Oh, that's disgusting, man. Yeah. The fact that freaking Daniel Hemrick just like, yeah, I'm just gonna ride around all day and just luck into this shit.
So this was our best lineup by far. It was actually good enough for 6th place in this contest, which is pretty good. And that was with Chris Bell crashing. So we had Bell, Blaney, Logano, Gibbs. Gibbs obviously ended up finishing 23rd. If he stays near the front, it's an even better lineup. But Justin Haley, once again, 13th. Bubba finishes in the top 10. Not really sure how he did that. It was so funny to me, the Bubba and Kyle Busch stuff, because no matter what the race was doing, those two were near each other, typically in like 34th and 35th place. And then all of a sudden they flip the field and they're in the front. And then like Kyle Busch is going around Bubba Wallace and throwing the peace sign out the window.
Right.
And I'm like, this sport's just the best. Just the best. No, non-factors are all of a sudden contending and they're racing each other like they're freaking Max Verstappen and going for the win. I was just like, oh my God. But yeah, so this was a good lineup, even though we had Gibbs and Bell. It was still really, really solid. Obviously Hamlin was great until he wasn't. Ross Chastain was great until he wasn't.
Ty Gibbs was good
until he wasn't.
until he wasn't.
Suarez was whatever. Suarez was a non-factor. Dinger ends up. Dinger, of course.
Exactly.
So mad. Couldn't finish 10th. Had to finish 11th.
Look, he had no business finishing even in the top 20. Let's be
if
fair.
he's gonna finish 11th, finish 10th. I put the 9-1 thanks to FanDuel on the card.
That's true.
And I was mere inches away from it cashing. And then obviously Larson, Truex was really good until he wasn't. Like it was a wild race. McDriver was near the front at one point. Stenhouse was a non-factor and probably a dumb play, but at 3%.
I think Stenhouse was probably in line. If the race goes green, we don't get the craziness. I think he's finishing like around 20th. So I mean, you're not losing a ton on him. Obviously, he didn't really do what we would have wanted, but he's not getting 5 points.
Yeah. Let's talk bets. Obviously, Ty Gibbs crashing. He wasn't going to win. He wasn't going to top 3, but he was going to beat. He beat Chastain, which is good.
Well, Chastain.
No, that's Truex beat Chastain.
Everybody, that's all I'll say. Or Kyle Larson beat Chastain. We'll say that.
Gibbs should have been a top 10 car. I should have.
That was an easy cash.
I took Chase over Denny, and I thought it wasn't going to work, and I thought it was going to work, and I thought it wasn't going to work, and I thought it was plus 360. It was worth a shot. And then I liked Gibbs over Logano, Buescher, and Brad K. Obviously, I had Gibbs over Buescher, over Logano, and Brad K. I was feeling good about those matchups, and honestly, for 80% of the race, it was definitely the right call. And then he was in front of Buescher, and then obviously the shenanigans the second time ends up costing him. Brian struggled with outrights, but
that's only because I didn't have Logano on the card here officially.
Yeah, you didn't even put Logano on the card, but you did have Truex over Chastain, Logano over Kez, Gibbs over Kez, and you're like, you know what? Double down. Logano over Kez, Gibbs over Kez. So big day for you. Lots of green at the end and ended up saving your ass. My day was kind of ruined, but what are you gonna do? You go all in on like basically one guy being 80% of your card. You have to live with the shenanigans, as they say.
Yep.
All right. Well, should we shift our focus? Anything else on Nashville before we shift our focus and talk Chicago?
Look, again, I just want to go back. They got to figure something out with the tires because we need tire wear. We need something in between Bristol of what we saw and I don't know. We cannot have guys like Joey Loganos taking 2 tires 3 consecutive stops and essentially running the same lefts for the whole freaking race. Like that cannot happen. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Let's shift our focus and talk Chicago. If you remember last year, the race was shortened. It was with the darkness, and they randomly decided when they were going to do it. Even though people were pitting and planning ahead, like because they had extended it and then they shrink it, and then it was an absolute mess. They originally shorted it into 75. Obviously, had the overtime. SVG ends up winning, so we have a shorter race this year. what did we decide it was? 75 laps total?
Yeah. The
So
scheduled 75 laps this year.
75 laps total. So that's good to have a plan going in. Hopefully we can stick to it or some semblance of it. So we'll kind of cobble together some odds, look at a few different things here. But over at Caesars, SVG 6-1, Tyler Reddick 6-1, Chris Bell 6.5, Kyle Larson 6.5, Chase Elliott 8-1. That's your numbers inside 10-1. You can find a 7 on SVG if you want that. But I guess what is your kind of overall thoughts about this top chunk, and are you getting invested in anybody?
Nope. Those are my thoughts on this top chunk. Nope.
He says nope.
We have one race at this track historically.
Yeah.
You can't take much away from what we saw last year, because not only was it the first time we ran here, we had to go on the rain tires, so that threw a huge, disastrous, jumbled mess into the fold. Van Gisbergen, he was great here last year, but he also benefited from just running up front and the weird decision to, we're gonna call it at this time. Nope, we're gonna do this, and then no, we're gonna do that. He just had the track position at the time. I mean, freaking Justin Haley led like over 30 laps or whatever the hell it was last year.
Yeah, it was a wild race for sure. Reddick's interesting to me. It's hard to get there at 6.5. You'd have to blow the field away, and
that's not happening.
I feel like we can get him. When we reconvene post practice and qualifying, assuming we get those things. With NASCAR schedule, who knows? We'll probably get some like unexpected downpour on Friday night and Saturday morning and ruin everything. But he's interesting to me. Bell's obviously interesting to me. He's been so good, and even when he's not winning the race and having issues, he's still crazy fast on race day. And then obviously Larson. So there's some compelling options, but like you said, it's hard to get there this early in the week at that price.
Yeah, especially like, I know we're gonna talk to longer guys here in a second, but when you look at Shane Van Gisbergen, for instance, something I forgot to account for earlier this year at COTA is that he's not running the Trackhouse 91 car. He's in the Colleague 16, but Colleague is also adding another car in the 13 to run AJ Allmendinger as well. And this is a team that has struggled mightily this year. So the fact that they now have 3 teams running on a race weekend, to me, that takes away from whatever kind of assets they have to put forth towards the race. And as good as Van Gisbergen is, why would I want to bet 6-1 pre-flop when I could get AJ Allmendinger at 14, who for all intents and purposes is the best ringer at road courses the sport has seen for a long time. And he ran better than Van Gisbergen at COTA, and he had a top 10 speed ranking at Sonoma as well. So I don't really understand the gap there in Colleague as opposed to Trackhouse, and with us having only one race on the books and a wild race at that.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. It's also a good point to shout out, because Dinger is interesting, but also in the 13, in the second Colleague car, like, I don't know about that. That's kind of gross to me. Like, I don't know if I want to bet any of these guys.
Well, then that's what I mean. Like, it's hard to see that with a team that suck. They suck this year.
Yeah. Chase Elliott 8-1.
I don't like the single digits right now, because we don't know what we have here.
Second fastest at Sonoma, 10th at COTA this year. He's shown up at a few different spots. I don't know. Bushers. Let's get into the next range, because I think that's where you can potentially find value. Martin Truex is 12. Our favorite offshore has a much longer number if you have access to that. McDriver at 12. He's really taken on money.
He's been.
He was as long as 16. I can get him 14 now at Superbook. He's sort of compelling, and I feel like maybe if we want to add him, we should jump in now, because we may lose this number. He was awesome at Sonoma, sucked at COTA this year, sucked at the Roval, but was really good at the Glen, at Indy Road, at Chicago, and at Sonoma last year. So McDriver's like all over the board, but like, I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on Michael McDowell, especially with them essentially at this point needing a win.
Yeah.
And these road courses or street course, whatever the hell it is, are his best opportunity outside of the super speedways, in my opinion. So this team is going to be on whatever strategy will give them the race win. They don't give a shit about stage points or playoff points or any of that. They need to go for a win. So I think in order to get paid on McDowell, you just got to bet him as an outright, forget the placements and all that jargon. Just go for the winner.
Yeah, it really seems like 14 is the best number we can get. Are we adding that?
I don't see it getting much shorter. Like even if he pulls
Yeah.
it, where's it going? 8 or 10?
Yeah.
Like at the lowest?
Yeah, it's hard to get to. It's like
Yeah, because he will not be in that
I'm a
6
driver
range.
at the end of the day. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
If he was like
won't be
20
in that.
something, I'd be firing and locking it in and just taking the gamble. But I
Exactly.
don't know. So as you mentioned, Dinger is 14. Ty Gibbs 15. I
He's
think
intriguing to me.
you can get an 18 on him at Superbook, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
Between 15 and 18, I'm just kind of price shopping. There's a 20 I'm adding the 20 at FanDuel.
Oh,
Thanks,
that is really long.
I am going to add that.
Yep. I'm gonna ride that with you because
yeah, it's just like if one of the books is going to give us a 2, and everybody else is kind of, and I'm probably setting myself up to be disappointed again, but FanDuel's
Is
gave
there
me
a
20. I'm
FanDuel?
going to take it. That's why it's always important to shop it. You never know what you might find sneaking around.
Yep.
Let's see here. So back to so I think this range is interesting. So we have obviously Truex, McDowell, Dinger, Gibbs, Busher, William Byron, and then we get into like the 20s. So Byron's interesting. Obviously, you can get him a little bit longer. I think what's his best number? He's getting shorter too. It looks like he's taking on some money. He's like 13, 14.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Byron is somebody that people have to account for. Like he's been really good at road courses.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just firing at our favorite offshore that has him at 16. All right, let's see here. So I guess of the names that we've kind of ran through, Byron, Busher, Gibbs, Dinger, McDowell, Truex, who's the most compelling name to you? Or compelling names that you may be adding to the card?
Well, I like that Gibbs number at 20, to be honest with you. I think that's
Yeah.
probably the best number on the board. And then I'd probably go Byron and then Truex.
Yeah.
At their current prices. Now, offshore wise, give me Marty Party at the number that we got him at over these guys because that shit will not be there.
Truex at 14 and Byron at 14, I think is fine. I don't know that I want to get much lower than that. That's kind of my break even. Like, would you get to like 12 if that's the best you can get, or even 10? Or are you waiting at that point?
I'm probably waiting because again, there's so much uncertainty about this. I do think that there is a longer number. I mean, I don't know why I'm going to do this to myself, but Kyle Busch at 28 or 30. I know. Look, when you go back and you watch Sonoma, he was having difficulties getting to the finish line at the end there. But if it's not for Ross Chastain, Kyle Busch is finishing top 7, top 6. Like maybe he holds Chastain off and he finishes 5th. And so you're talking about a guy who he's basically at a point now in the season that he's going to start needing to get a win to get into the playoffs. So in the same conversation as Michael McDowell, they're not playing for stage points or anything of that matter. If anybody at the end of this race is going to do like a strategy call to get up front and try to win this thing, it's going to be somebody like Busch, who has tremendous success at road courses recently in terms of speed there, and somebody who is aggressive enough to make this call. And at 30 or 28, I don't mind hitting that.
Kyle Busch, last road courses, speed ranking, 6th at Coda 23, 4th at Sonoma 23, 22nd at Chicago, which sucked, but that was a weird race, rain, all kinds of stuff. First time. Indy Road, 20th, that sucks. But after that, 7th at the Glen, 3rd at the Roval, 8th at Coda this year, and 12th at Sonoma this year. And as Brian pointed out, potentially finishes top 5 if he doesn't wiggle and Ross goes around him.
You mean Ross Wrexham?
No, that's not what I mean, but that's okay.
I'm still
I like
bitter.
that we're still disagreeing about that.
Sure.
So, like, it's disgusting, but like also don't hate it, honestly. You can get 34 at FanDuel, so take that.
Ooh, yeah, that is a price that I'm
taking that. Thanks, FanDuel. You're the best.
Yeah, what FanDuel, man, they're making a comeback on these.
Yeah, I'm sure they're limiting anybody who actually wins though, so it's so wild to me that books can do that.
That is true.
Imagine if credit card companies were like, this jabroni who's running up $20,000 in debt can have more money, but the one person who pays it off every time and is just using it like you're supposed to is going to get, like, actually, you can't have a credit card. Sorry, we're taking that away. Like that would never like fly. But like sports books are like, you can, or like if a bar had like a place where people who have a drinking problem can come.
Yes.
And if you're a responsible drinker,
yeah, they say nope, you're not allowed in here.
Yeah, like that would never, like, it's just crazy to me that the books, not only can they do it, but they're allowed to do it, and they're like Wormy. Did you see Wormy's tweet where he's like, I want to put a dime on this driver, and they're like, sorry, we only take you can only bet $100, and he's like, that's fine. Can I at least get a drink ticket? And they're like, you have to bet $250 in order to get a drink ticket. And it's just like, so you don't want me to make money? You don't want me to have a drink ticket? Like you're just like, I don't know. You think with the competition and stuff that they would find a way to like encourage people to bet, but it doesn't. Outside of really like Circa, which props to them, it seems like
hey, Superbook
too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it would be nice if they were more of a easily available books for majority of people instead of these
that is true.
parlay kings trying to milk every last dollar out of poor people. All right, so I have Gibbs at 20. I have Kyle Busch at 35. What are we doing? Why are we doing this to ourselves? The idea is that we come back on Sunday or on Saturday, and Kyle Busch is like 14, right? And then Ty Gibbs is maybe around 12, 10, something like that.
Well, let's just hope.
And then we hope on Sunday we have a shot with one of them.
I will say Ty Gibbs is qualified inside the top 10 in both road courses this year. And I believe like last year was when he really started to pop in qualifying at those tracks. So I think there's a good chance that this number is shorter. Busch, I don't think it's really going to get any longer. I mean, unless he wrecks, obviously, but I don't really see that happening. So, he'll probably reopen at like 25 or something of that nature, but I want to get paid out on Kyle as much as possible if he does win the race. So that's why I want to add this now.
Talk me out of betting Ross Chastain this week.
Did you watch last week?
5th at Coda, 5th at Sonoma in terms of average speed rankings.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's been a wild ride for Trackhouse in general, but 30-1. I mean, FanDuel probably has like 50-1 on him because 30.
Let's see. Let me bring up his results this year so I can. All right, so he finished 5th at Sonoma. Like that was his finishing spot. He qualified 9th there. That's fine and dandy. He qualified 6th at Coda and finished 7th after leading 10 laps at a track that everybody expected him to compete for the win. Yeah. Which I don't think he was really anywhere near the front to win there. And even at Sonoma, it took him until the very end of the race to even find like the top 10.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't really a factor until he was, but he was never really a contender. Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, we're
I
betting
think he's
Kyle
in the same
Busch, but
conversation as Kyle Busch, though, in that sense. Like, I think that team has shown more speed more consistently than Kyle Busch, but
mhm.
obviously I'm a little biased here because of Chastain's propensity to
Ability
ruin my
to
other bets.
destroy every driver that you have.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
He's rocking another sweet paint scheme, though. Let me tell you, he's rocking the Peach Bush Light paint scheme this week, which is
How do you not bet that? What about Suarez at 30? Like,
no, hell no. I would much rather bet Chastain over Suarez.
Suarez, let's see, what is he doing? He was 6th at Coda 23. He was 1st at Indy Road 23. Kind of a lot of crap. Yeah, he's been pretty slow. I don't know. It's a weird week.
I was just gonna say,
this range is interesting. We have Danny Hamlin at 30. I mean, he put it on the pole here last year. If not for the rain and crashing, maybe he has a much better finish. He's a lot more compelling. Logano at 60. Like, do we go back to back with Joey?
I think now they're going to be in the points hunt.
Yeah, and with the addition of whatchamacallit, stage break cautions, he may stay out and we'll get one instead of.
I feel like with him having a win, they're going to put their focus on trying to get playoff points now instead of doing some weird shit to sacrifice that and essentially go for race win. So I think especially this week, I think Joey Logano is a good driver to potentially fade like end of the race matchups while looking at him as potential stage 1 winner or stage 2 winner markets, just because he's a little bit further down the board when it comes to drivers who have race wins this year. So they're going to need those playoff points.
Yeah. Alex Bowman is 80-1. He is 5th at Coda 23, 8th at Chicago last year, 6th at Indy Road. Obviously sucked at the Glen, but was 10th at Roval, 7th at Coda, and then 16th at Sonoma. 80-1? Is there something there?
He's been a consistent performer at road courses and taken advantage of wild shit at the end of those before. So what is he, like 100 at FanDuel?
He's 75.
Shorter at FanDuel. Wow.
Yeah, our favorite offshore has him at 50, so shouts to them.
Oh man, Superbook for the win there.
Yeah.
Shit, let's put it. I'm putting it on there. That's way too long.
10th of a unit, $80. None of these guys are gonna win, but like that's what we're doing at this point. We're taking a gamble on some guys having a much better result than their outright price indicates.
Yeah.
And like I don't even have a full unit on my outright card yet, so I put a half a unit on Gibbs at 20. I think I should up bump that. I'm gonna bump that. I'm gonna do 3/4 of a unit on Gibbs at 20. I'm gonna put 1/4 of a unit on Busch at 34, and then I'm gonna put a 1/10 on Bowman at 80. I mean, there's some. I don't hate taking dart throws at this kind of like 30 to 50 range, 30 to 80 range. Like if Hamlin, Busch, Chastain, don't touch Cindric. I don't hate Blaney and Logano, but like you said, maybe they're going a little more stage break, and trying to get playoff points. Feeling much better about the Logano.
Oh yeah, the season win total
And having futures on him to win the championship. And that's nice to know that he's locked in. You still need another win before you can cash that over. But you're looking pretty good. Elliott needs one more, Logano needs one more, and Reddick needs one more. And you can cash all 3 of those. And like that doesn't seem crazy. If you can go 5.
I was just gonna say, outside of Logano, who I think is going to be difficult for him to catch another win, but Reddick and Elliott, I think both. I mean, Reddick should have multiple wins already this season.
I think Logano could win it Vegas. I think Logano could win.
No, I think Logano can win either the next two or the last three super speedways for sure.
Yeah. Like if you go 6 for 6 on season wins, that'll be incredible.
Oh
If you
yeah,
go
don't
4
worry.
for 6.
I would be very happy with my those tickets I got outright still sitting at the condo in Vegas,
Yeah.
waiting for me to cash those at Superbook.
Yeah, those are some good bets for sure. It's fun to check in on those every so often. I felt like we'd be cash and chase by now, but maybe we'll find a way to get there. All right, anything else outright that you're considering that you're keeping an eye on? You want to see it float, maybe, or maybe, if qualifying goes well, you'll really consider firing.
Well, I'm gonna completely take a U-turn here and flip my opinion, and I'm gonna add the Chastain 30-1. Because even when I said it, it didn't make sense that I didn't like it. When he's in the same exact boat as Kyle Busch in terms of it's win time. And I mean, we saw it last week where him and Logano were the two riskiest drivers in terms of taking two tires. And I think Chastain is a guy who's going to do something similar or would do something similar this week in order to get a win. So, 30-1, it'll probably be a little bit shorter come Sunday. I think he'll qualify probably, low teens, maybe like bottom quarter of the top 10. So, I think we'll get a little bit of value on it, but again, I want to get paid out on these guys if they win. So
yeah,
forget what I said 5 minutes ago. And yes, I like the Chastain number as it currently sits.
I gotta charge my mouse on the fly here because otherwise I won't be able to turn off the show. So so pretty interesting range of numbers. It's hilarious that you're finding yourself getting there. I don't know. It's I guess let us know down in the comments who's the name that you're jumping on in this range, or if you're doing it. Obviously now is the time to get in on these guys. Is there value with the Chastain? Are you joining us on the Kyle Busch train? Is there someone else that is jumping out to you that you're like, you know what, you guys missed the boat here? You should jump in on that. Brian, I will flip over to the top 10 market here in a second, as soon as I get this to plug in. All right, let's see if I can drive opposite side. Perfect. We are back. All right, let's look at top 10s. I think we were talking, was it before, during the show? I don't remember. It's all a blur now. Bubba Wallace, top 10.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, 10-1.
We were talking about him like he's not going to win, of course. And maybe, who knows, but like, what was I looking at? 9th at Coda, 23. 9th at the Glen. Like, he's been sort of okay at points. The fact that he's 300-1 makes his top 10 sort of interesting. Like, or I don't know. What do you think?
I think also too somebody the Gilly Gang at plus 450 is interesting right now.
Yeah.
Or even Chase Briscoe for that matter. I mean,
twist my arm to bet a little Briscoe. What about Busher? We didn't talk about him. Minus 120 to top 10.
Yeah, I'm not laying negative money on a top 10 at this point in the week.
Yeah, no, that's probably a good idea. And he's 14. He's not that good of a price. Yeah, I'd rather bet Gibbs. I'd rather bet Byron. Chastain at plus 150.
Damn, Gibbs is minus 120.
Yeah.
All right, I'm biting the bullet again. I think Gibbs is qualifying first couple of rows, and that's minus 200 come Sunday.
Okay. You gonna take your Joey Hand at 5-1?
That I'd have to get longer than that. Look, if I'm gonna bet Joey Hand again, I'm shooting for the moon and betting is outright.
Dinger plus 225 to top 5. Truex plus 230. I don't like the placement market. Is there anything jumping out to you, either top 5, top 10 wise?
I like the Gibbs number again, 2-1. Like,
yeah,
I think he's another good ladder play even before we see cars on track, just with the expectation that they've been unloading extremely fast everywhere we've gone.
Yep, and he's tied with Tyler Reddick for average speed rankings on the 2 road courses this year between Coda and Sonoma. So, you know who's third on that? In other words, if we're just talking 2024,
Yeah, it's Watermelon.
it's Watermelon Man. And then Chase Elliott, and then AJ Allmendinger. That's your top 5.
I mean, if you like Ross, 5-1 for a top 5, that's not a terrible price.
Yeah. I'm not gonna bet Kyle Busch and not bet Ross Chastain when I think Ross Chastain is much more interesting. So I'm gonna add that right now. And I'm going to take the Watermelon top 5. And hold on for dear life. What would you say? 2-1?
5-1 top 5.
Oh, go.
It's 2-1 with Gibbs.
Oh yeah, let's ride. Where was that? Caesars.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at matchup or manufacturer. So Top Chevy, SVG is going to give us some opportunity. We got to figure out how we want to do it. Byron 8-1. Chase, do we want to? Is there room in the Chevy manufacturer bets, given we think they could win the race between SVG, Larson, Elliott, Dinger? Like, are they supplemental bets, or do you think just bet them outright? Don't mess around with this.
Well, I think you have to see what their odds are right now. Like, obviously, Van Gisbergen and Larson, because they're so short in the outright market, I don't mind hitting their manufacturer as an addition to that to hedge off of that, just because you open up for the Toyotas or, you know, whatever random Ford finds its way up there. Whereas like Dinger, if I'm getting double the price for him to win, like if he's finishing ahead of Van Gisbergen, Larson, Elliott, Byron, Chastain, Busch, like he's probably competing for a win or a top 3. So I'd rather look at that market or those two markets in particular and bet both of those than even hit the top Chevy.
Chastain 18-1 for top Chevy. Is he winning if he's top Chevy, or is there room? Like, what should I be betting him instead of the top 5?
So what's his top 3 price?
That's a great question.
It's probably like 8-1.
10. So you're getting almost double.
Yeah, I really don't hate the Chastain top Chevy. Same thing with like Busch, 22-1.
Yeah, like I could see either of those guys being like third or fourth and behind a couple Chevys and maybe a random Logano or something.
You mean Toyotas?
That's what I mean.
Look, all I want this week, all I ask is a Kyle Busch versus Ross Chastain matchup, so that way I can bet KFB.
I want Busch versus Bubba again, and I want a long price on Bubba, and I'll take Bubba and then watch KFB crash.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so are you adding any of the top Chevys?
Yeah, I'm not really. I don't know. I don't want to get too much exposure to either of them. I'm okay on their outright prices. Let me see what we got in qualifying, and then I'll come back to
decisions
Will.
from there. That's why I changed mine to a top Chevy price, put a lot less on it, and then, you know, if I have a nice ticket come Sunday, then I can always come back for top 5, even if it's 3-1 instead of 5.
Yeah.
Ford McDrivers 2-1, Busher, Lady Logano, Cindric, Gilliland 18-1.
All right, let's see here. So McDowell. All right, so there's no reason to bet McDowell top 4 at 2-1 when you can get his top 5 at plus 230. That's like, that doesn't make any sense. Just bet the top 5 number and you're good. I mean, it's essentially a top 4 ticket, but with better odds, and he doesn't have to finish that high up. Now, when you go to like Blaney or Logano, I do actually kind of like those just because I think there's a world where Blaney and Logano, they just ride around all day and they finished 7th or 8th. And depending on what McDowell does and Buescher, that they're the top Ford. Like, and we have a bunch of Toyotas and Chevys up at the top of the board here.
Yeah, I think Ryan Blaney's I think he's interesting. He had a really bad run on road courses, like start 23, but he's gotten much better. Indy Road, he was 15th. Watkins Glen, he was 12th. Roval, he was 11th. And then at Coda, he was 14th. And at Sonoma, he was 4th. So he's improving as a road course racer. And I think that's really important for somebody who wants to win championships, not just one. That plus 650 number is kind of tempting. I'm really interested in that. But as you mentioned, don't want to get over my skis already. Truex 4.5, Ty Gibbs 6. Those are kind of interesting, especially if you're on them to win the race.
I was just gonna say though, like, I don't know. I feel like Tyler Reddick is top 5, top 3 car. I think this is a market where you would bet Tyler Reddick plus 190 because this is going to be a much longer price than his placements. And then you go to a guy like Gibbs or Denny or Truex and you bet their placements.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Just because it's a lot safer. Because I don't think there's much of an argument to be had when it comes to the fact that Christopher Bell and Tyler Reddick are probably the top 2 Toyotas right now at road courses.
Yeah.
With Ty Gibbs, I would say Ty Gibbs is a close third, followed by Martin Truex Jr. and then Denny Hamlin.
Let's see what matchups we can find if there's anything interesting. Larson versus Reddick's basically even. Larson versus Bell. Larson versus Elliott. Bell versus Reddick. You can fade SVG with Bell, but it's going to cost you. You can fade SVG with Chase Elliott, minus 110.
I don't hate that.
Truex versus Byron. Truex versus Buescher. Truex ones are interesting, but like, I don't know. It's hard to lay juice for drivers that I kind of think are similar. Truex minus 125 versus McDowell, I think, is interesting. Shouts to Superbook for just loading us up with matchups.
The Superbook is great, man.
KFB
I don't hate
over Suarez.
money against Denny. Oh yeah, no, I'm hitting Kyle Busch minus 110 over Suarez here. I'm gonna be extremely sad on Sunday when he wrecks again, but you know.
I think there's matchups over here too.
Ooh, Bet365 has a bunch of matchups as well.
Reddick minus 165 versus Gibbs. Cindric plus 120 versus the Dinger.
That's a large number for this point of the week.
Yeah. You said 365 has them.
Yeah.
Nascar.
Ooh.
Dinger versus Buescher. Elliott versus Truex. Truex being a big dog to Elliott's kind of interesting. And Reddick being basically even with Chris Bell. You could take Denny as a dog to Suarez. You want to keep fading Suarez. Larson minus 115 versus SVG.
I saw that and I considered it.
Byron over McDowell. I don't really love any of these.
Yeah, I don't like betting minus 115. If it's an even matchup, honestly, to me, they should just both be plus money or minus 110 at the shortest.
Yeah. Sportsbooks want their, like, they just keep giving us, keep chopping a little extra, a little extra, a little extra.
Yeah.
Eventually, they're going to be like minus 130 on both sides. So we're just going to have to bet it.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Anything else you want to look at? I don't know if there's anything else like incredibly
Yeah,
compelling for me.
I don't think there's a ton.
Any group stuff?
Yeah, I haven't even looked at groups.
Chastain is 4-1 to beat McDowell, Busher, and Gibbs. I don't hate that.
I mean, that's kind of like a but I think you just bet. Like, what's his top 10 number?
Chastain?
Yeah, let's see here. He's plus 150 to top 10. I'd probably play that just to be safer. Yeah. And then his top 5 price at that 5-1 number, like,
You said it's plus 150?
yeah, his top 10 is plus 150 and his top 5 price being at 5-1. I definitely think there's a world where both Chris Buescher and Michael McDowell are up front at the end because they're both searching for that one win, and Chastain finishes behind both of them. So
Yep, and you could just take Ross's top Chevy and then cash that ticket instead.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All right,
I'm gonna the card.
I'm gonna be an idiot and also add Kyle Busch top 5 plus 650. So
Crazy. So as it sits, I have 4 outrights, very small plays, just to see if I can get some value come post practice and qualifying, and then I'll double down or figure it out from there. Gibbs 20, Busch 34, Bowman 80, Chastain 30. Just taking some dart throws, and then I'll come back with some better matchups and top 3s, top 5s, that kind of stuff. And then I took Chastain top Chevy because 18-1. And then I took his top 10 at plus 150 because I think that's minus money. When we reconvene, Brian has Gibbs, Busch, Bowman, and Chastain as well. He also has the Gibbs top 10 minus 120. I should probably just take that too. It's silly.
it's the kiss of death, folks.
Yeah, we're cooked. Gibbs is done. Chastain is done. KFB will probably do good because, why would that make sense? Then you have KFB over Suarez at minus 110 and KFB to top 5 plus 650. Anything particularly standing out to you at this point that you're just like trying to grab a piece of? You maybe a favorite bet, not necessarily your best bet, but you're like a favorite number, value, something like that as we're sitting here right now.
Yeah, so I'm contemplating adding it right now, and that'd be a Tyler Reddick top 5 at even money. Just because I think even when his car isn't the strongest, he still finds a way at road courses to find his way near the front. And I think last week was a good example of the type of car that they can bring on a week-to-week basis. And for the last month or so, Reddick has been right there in terms of battling for a win. And I think because of the weirdness that happens at these tracks, getting off of the outright price and just trying to get a decent number on a placement on him near the front is the way to bet him. And then maybe if he does show that elite speed in practice and qualifying, come back and hit him at 4-1 or whatever it'll be for an outright this week.
Yeah, because Reddick's been he's been the fastest in 2024. He's been the fastest when you combine 23 and 24. He's just a rock solid option. So, okay, I think that will do it for the week. Let us know down in the comments if you see any bets you found that really jump out to you, any values, why we're idiots for backing Kyle Busch and Alex Bowman and Ross Chastain this week. For Brian Twining, I'm Kyle Robert. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk to you next time.